Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Allison McKenzie, and I am the chair of the Historic Conservation Board. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone about the rules of this proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on September 26, 2011, last amended March 23rd, 2015. A copy of the rules of procedure is available for review in the back of the room or online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments such as attorneys, should now stand and take an oath administered by the board's attorney.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
This is a quasi-judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio Rules of Evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their service. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being tape recorded. Therefore, please speak clearly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record. With that said, let's proceed with the first item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 1 is an application for 655 Eden Park Drive. This is a local historic landmark building known as the Baldwin Piano Company building. And the applicant is requesting a new signage package on the north and northeast corner of the building. As part of that application, they will need zoning relief related to the size of the total sign area for the building, as well as the size of each individual sign. So you can see the sign locations called out on the site plan on the corner, and the rendering of what that signage will entail. So basically, this is a mirror of the previous signage that was approved on the southwest corner of the building. There is signage along that southern short end as well as on the other corner that has visibility from the highway. But the building does currently have very little exposure for sign area on the interior streets, as the current signage is geared toward the interstate. So the applicant is trying to increase that exposure locally by having signage that will be visible from Gilbert Avenue as well as Eden Park Drive. So staff feels that these variances that are requested, as well as the design of the sign, is appropriate in the interest of historic conservation. The building is a very large building, horizontally oriented. It is in the OG district, which does limit the size of wall signs to 72 square feet, despite how large the wall may be. So the main wall of the building is about 386 feet long, but it is limited to that 72 square feet of maximum sign area. So they are asking for variances for both that north and east elevations to add 2 signs. And then ultimately, with the existing signs that are on the south side of the building, that will extend the maximum sign area above what is permitted for the building. So they're requesting variances for that as well. So as I mentioned, staff feels that those variances are appropriate, and staff feels that the COA is also justified. The sign does not cover any architectural features. It's placed on a primarily blank column on the corner of the building. So staff does not feel that it will detract from the architecture of the building. So with that being said, staff recommends the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on plans by Atlantic Sign Company dated 10/4/2021. Approve a dimensional variance of 139.16 square feet to allow a maximum building sign area of 821.66 square feet in excess of the 682.5 square foot limit. Approve a dimensional variance of 131.54 square feet to allow a wall sign on the east elevation totaling 4 square feet and approve a dimensional variance of 131.54 square feet to allow a wall sign on the north elevation totaling the same 203.54 square feet. Staff also recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness, including any revisions submitted for permits subject to staff review and approval, with the condition that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you. I do have one person signed up for this case, which I believe may be an owner or applicant. Mike, I'm having trouble making out your last name.
Cassidy.
Okay, great. If you're an owner or an applicant, please come on up and add anything you would like to for us.
Aren't we at that point where the staff recommends it, all you can do is screw it up?
I mean, there is that theory.
I think staff did a great job. Probably the two things that I would bring as a highlight beyond what staff has said, because they're right, 376 feet of lineal, 376 feet of lineal building frontage. These are identical to the same signage that is on the south and west. So what we're trying to do is to maintain consistency for the building itself. And there isn't really any really good place to do anything else in terms of signage is concerned at that corner. The building is right on the street front. The sidewalk is right there. You all are probably very familiar with it. I'm not telling you anything you probably don't already know. The only hiccup in this whole mess is that when they put the ballet building up, it literally blocked the view of the north west corner. And we were a little bit shocked by that. It's like, oh, wait, we're losing some advertising and some identification. But we have been looking at this option. We originally looked at the option of doing it originally when we did the south west corner, but financially it was like, it's not in the budget, so we can't do it. Well, we finally got to that point, and I think someone pointed out the date on the drawings is 2021. We've been trying to get this thing through budgets so that we can go ahead and get this signature signage completed on it. Like I said, there's nothing on that corner as you come from Walden Hills down through Gilbert or going the other way. There is nothing to identify the building. Now, I know a lot of locals will say, well, we all know it's the Baldwin building, but the market share says we're not looking for the locals. We're looking for people that are moving into the area. So the common sense kind of approach to this whole thing is to try to get that identification up in the north east corner, and then we're done. It's a very effective application for signage. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Who owns the building now?
Casco out of Columbus. Same developers that had it originally. They were partners in with Nair Properties.
The Nair's out of it now.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
I think they have some leasing rights on the properties or something like that where it's built, but that's it.
Are there any additional questions or comments by the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the zoning relief and certificate of appropriateness as laid out by staff.
Second.
Mr. Zalesko?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Ms. Smith Dobbins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, item 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2 is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 1808 Elm Street, property within the Overline Historic District. This property was before the board once before as part of a renovation proposal for the complete renovation of the building. At that point, The proposal was to build an addition on the south, or build a rooftop addition on the rear of the building with an inset roof deck on the front portion of the building. So that was previously approved by the board. However, once the owners got into the building and started working, they discovered that the south wall of the building was not stable. So they did perform stabilization work on the building to keep that wall standing. However, as part of that discovery, they have decided to rework the design that was previously approved in order to remove any additional weight-bearing load from that south wall, which could further compromise the integrity. So the result is they have eliminated the previously approved addition on the rear portion of the building. And in order to keep the current configuration of the property, they would like to basically swap the roof deck with the addition that gave them some additional headspace on that top level. So they propose now to have the roof deck on the rear flat portion of the roof with access through the rear wall of the building. And in order to gain the headspace necessary for the bedroom area, they are proposing a dormer on the front roof slope. The other changes are fairly minimal. They are adding a window opening on the 4th floor, and they are shifting slightly the existing window over to allow for the interior wall configuration that's in that area. So staff generally does not recommend approval for any type of rooftop addition that has visibility from the street. However, staff does feel that this is a special circumstance related to the condition of the building and the stabilization that's required of that wall. So by shifting that additional headspace to the front, there is a small portion of that dormer that will be visible from the street when standing across Elm Street and viewing the building. So while there is visibility of that dormer, it is fairly minimal, mainly consisting of the eave portion of that along with that gutter line. So as I mentioned, staff typically does not recommend any kind of visibility for any rooftop additions, but due to the special circumstances on this building, staff does feel that it is justified. The only other major change to the building itself is that currently there is a stepped parapet wall on this south portion of the wall that is behind that front roof slope. In the course of rebuilding that wall, the applicant would like to simplify that construction and have a traditional just sloped wall at the top without the parapet that will follow the line of the roof. So staff does feel that the certificate of appropriateness is justified and would recommend that the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on plans by Plat Architecture and Design dated 1/12/24. Approve the certificate of appropriateness for 1808 Elm Street, including any revisions submitted for permit subject to staff review and approval, with the condition that the building permit must be issued within 2 years or the COH shall expire.
Thank you. We do have 2 people signed up for this item. Not sure if both are owner applicants. I believe Mr. O'Malley is. Mr. Jarnigo, you are part of the owner team or applicant team, please come up. And please add anything you'd like to.
Ryan, did you want to start?
Yeah. So thank you, Doug, for the summary. I think it's safe to say that the owners of this building, who also own Blue Oven Bakery here over the Rhine, they had kind of a difficult 2023. They, through no fault of their own, they acquired a building, and then shortly thereafter, some subcontractors did some excavation work, which was unauthorized and ill-advised and caused a bunch of structural problems on that south wall. So as a result, as Doug described, we ended up swapping, basically nixing the design for the back addition, pushing that to the front. I mean, there is frankly less square footage on the fourth floor, but in order to try to keep that as a two-bedroom, we are proposing this dormer in the front. And so what the dormer allows us to do is maintain the historic ceiling height of that front space, which is about 8'6", contiguously all the way to that front wall. We believe it is minimally visible and, sort of consistent with the fabric of the neighborhood. The slope matches the rear of the building. So, that is what we desire.
Yeah, I want to reiterate and thank Ryan for just a great job on kind of having to move things around because we didn't want to raise the wall any higher. And we're going to do some different materials to lighten the load on that wall. And then really having windows in that room makes it just a lovely place to be in, and, versus not having it. So I think it just, for the building itself, it makes for a really nice room that otherwise you'd go halfway into and hit your head on a wall. So, it's a great way to make the most of a situation.
Excuse me, what are your names?
I'm John Jarniga.
Yes, and I'm Ryan O'Malley.
Okay, are there any questions by the board for staff or the applicants?
I feel like I'm the only one that ever has questions.
I'm sorry?
I feel like I'm the only one that ever has.
That's why we have you here.
Was the sight line taken from the base of the building across the street or 5 feet higher, or that's the sight line?
It was taken from it was taken from 6.
Yeah. The full drawing has a person, yeah. So they're kind of on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. And does the owner of this building own the building to the south? The larger building on the south?
No, that's Cohatch.
Okay. Oh, it is.
Yeah, to the south. So, yeah, they're about done with their project. We were supposed to be about the same timeline, and ours is not looking like theirs yet.
I'm good.
So if I'm standing there,
Yeah.
how much of this dormer am I seeing from that street? Is it a foot, 2 feet?
About 2 feet. Yep. Yeah, assuming I would take it to the gutter. It's about 2 feet.
Okay.
They're gonna match the rest of the building in color? Is the building staying that color?
We had some kind of darker blues.
Yeah,
down.
yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
to match the sort of blue oven and a little bit.
So it's like a kind of a navy blue and like a lighter blue accent color.
I mean, I think
But I don't know
if
what
I understand what
dormer is.
if I understand what you're getting at, the idea obviously would be to foreground the cornice and have the dormer more or less
Minimize
blended
the outcrop.
and background that. So, that is the intent. We change cladding so that you can read the historic profile of the roof. You can understand that it is in fact an addition. But yeah, the idea would be to make that cornice pop and then the dormer sort of recede.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Both the dormer and the moving of windows sort of pushes the envelope for me. And I would note that, as all the lawyers tell you, hard cases make bad law. And this is a hard case. So after looking at it, I was like, okay, I don't like everything that's happening here, but I understand why it has to happen. Oh, and I do love the hubcaps, so.
I was gonna bring some bread maybe, but I didn't wanna push. on it.
No, I can't bribe us.
You mean
Right,
very
yeah, I don't
clear
know
what
if
the
I,
bribery is.
yeah, I don't think I wasn't clear on that.
But with what's happening to this building, I don't see that there's a better option.
Yeah, that window shift is honestly a little
Yeah. It was a little jarring when I looked at it when,
for me than even the bit of a pop-up. I appreciate the attempt by staff to put some findings here that wrap something around these usually not approved of conditions.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness as laid out by staff.
I'll second.
Mr. Zalesko.
Aye.
Mr. Voss.
Aye.
Ms. Smith Dobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Congratulations. Okay, I think we have staff level approval as our next item. Anything you would like to add on that, Doug?
I had one question that had to do with 129 West Elder. My question really was, if the rear deck, what, in staff's view, what moves that from a staff approval to a board approval?
So rear decks are called out in the delegation memo where the board delegates certain approvals to staff. And one of those delegations does include rear decks that are not visible from the principal street. So that was the case in this one, as best I can recall. That deck is completely on the rear of the building. It's not any kind of rooftop deck. It's a separate deck that is attached to the building, but it is not visible from any of the primary.
Visibility.
exteriors.
Thank you for the clarification. That was the only issue I had, or only question I had on staff level approvals.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the staff level approvals.
Second.
Mr. Zalesko.
Aye.
Mr. Voss.
Aye.
Ms. Smith Dobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any other business for today? Okay, I will entertain a motion on adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice guys. I want to enjoy that.
I did just want to